This video is brought to you by HelloFresh. For dinner tonight, I know I should have something healthy, which means it's probably better if I make it myself, but I also want it to be flavorful, but I also don't want to shop or pay for a bunch of ingredients that I'm probably not going to use again. So thank goodness for HelloFresh's meal kits, which deliver recipes with fresh, pre-measured ingredients directly to your home. I also want to expand my culinary skill set, but I also have a history of things not going so well, so I'm starting simple with tacos. HelloFresh gives you so many options for delicious recipes. That includes veggie, pescatarian, fit and wholesome, but also quick and easy, as well as satisfying classics, and those recipes rotate week to week, so there's always something new to try. It's a great option whether for convenience, just wanting to try something new, developing a new skill, or for staying healthy while not sacrificing taste. So if you're ready to get fresh food delivered right to your door with some assembly required, use my link or go to HelloFresh.com, use the code POGSellSpec16 for up to 16 free meals, plus 3 surprise gifts across 6 HelloFresh boxes, plus free shipping. Gifts include free appetizers, free desserts, and free premium recipes. Wow, it's only April and the year has already been so good! For animation, again, it's been absolutely horrible in almost literally every other way. Since Spider-Verse has been pushed to 23, Bad Guys has pretty much been the most hype animated movie of the year so far, as the 2D, 3D hybrid style has really been gaining momentum as the animation aesthetic of the 2000s, and as said, I could not be more ecstatic about that. As the director said, the race for realism is over, and thank the seasons, cause deepfakes have been one of the worst things that have happened to this planet. And though last year I had a pretty bad track record of things I was hyped for not meeting my expectations, in this case, the hyped movie was still a pretty great movie. A movie in which 5 bad guys in a world where there seem to be very few other animals get caught but plan a new heist pretending to be good guys. And opening with a homage to the opening scene of Pulp Fiction was very much a good place to start with, and it continues the wild heist fun from there. This is a breath of new life into DreamWorks Animation, who have been relying on their sequels of past properties to keep themselves afloat, apparently while they were planning to completely reinvigorate themselves. Well, that may be too soon to call. We'll have to see what their follow-ups look like. Well, of course, that's only if you can bear to look at this film with those horrible, disgusting bean mouths. The absolute worst artistic decision in the history of animation. Just how can people stand to look at it? Yeah, it sounds really stupid when you say it out loud. Now, the obvious comparison even before the movie came out was naturally Zootopia, both featuring wild dog cousins in a society where they are stereotyped to be the bad guys, so that's who they became. And after the movies premiered, those comparisons won't entirely go away as there are more comparisons to be made, but still evident that they are far from being the same movie. And while many aspects of Zootopia haven't quite aged well, the comparisons still might do this movie a disservice for people who expect this movie to delve more into the animal stereotype society playing a role in the story, except they just don't. This is not a world-building movie that explains or addresses why some civilians or humans are animals. We hardly get any background on any of these characters, and in general there aren't necessarily that many meaty themes to dig into. This is mostly a cartoonishly fun heist comedy. You certainly could still talk about how it reflects how societal expectations shape the people they grow into and possibly limit their options, or how your values are shared and shaped by your social circle and how hard that can be to break out of that pattern. But for the most part, this again is a kind of Wish Dragon Turning Red movie, a very straightforward story with limited surprises, but the appeal is its animation and comedy and the bond between the characters more than the themes. I had a blast with every single one of these guys, but the banter between Wolf and Snake gets special sentimental focus, and I love all of it. My only real story issue, aside that the third act development being kind of predictable, but the act that makes everyone look at the bad guys as good guys now is so minor. I know that social media can make mountains out of molehills, unless of course that's the commentary, that someone who's done an ocean ton of horrible things, everyone just brushes them aside when they do or say one minor okay thing. And that's kind of an odd thing to even take issue with, considering how often this movie deliberately and cartoonishly distorts practicality for the sake of humor. I mean, the shark being a master of disguise with just a bad mustache and wig is hilarious. It's almost like this movie is taunting people like CinemaSins to try and point out things that are obviously supposed to be jokes. We also have a pretty cool female co-star that I'm shocked hasn't been getting more backlash for being overpowered. But I guess it's because the people who usually do that are still angry about Turning Red existing. Also, Susie from Mrs. Maisel is the cop, and I so badly want to edit Susie's lines over her.
It was a big mistake, kid! Big mistake! Remember the face!
And to give some vaguish, spoilery-ish thoughts about the ending, giving you a couple of seconds to bow out now, but it is another one of those villains that we really like to point out whenever they exist, especially when they are particularly overt. However, that kind of villain does fit into this story, especially for how stark and exaggerated it is, so I'm definitely willing to let certain things pass that I wouldn't let pass in other movies. But it's also clear that the actor is having a ton of fun, and they did make for a very entertaining villain, so that gives them a couple of extra points. And then the very, very end, I really like how they handled the whole bad guys' consequences thing. That last decision will likely be taken as an exceedingly good message, especially given some recent events, and especially given villain redemption skepticism, even if it is highly unrealistic. Other than that, I do admit that the climax is very action-heavy, which is perfectly fine for this film, but again, I might have zoned out a couple times, action fatigue and all. But yep, Bad Guys was an exceedingly funny, extremely pretty movie, and for the first time in a while, I can confidently say that I'm looking forward to what DreamWorks does next, as long as it's not Shrek 5. Oh right, the Puss in Boots trailer. That actually looks pretty fun.